from behind me, we're at a rather cold Laurels lake here at Drennan Lindholme lake. So as most of you have probably seen, we've put some new fish in over the weekend, so I thought it'd be a nice day to run you through how I go about targeting the new stock fish. It's a little bit different to my older wiser F1, so quickly run you through the bait and the rigs and everything and go from there. As you can see, we've had to break the ice out just to a nice distance, around 13 metres, so should be okay for a few bites there. So always go about it in the right way. Also put your gloves on and things, make sure you go steady with it, don't be throwing yourself in or anything like that. So we're here on peg 13 for any of you that know the lake, and hopefully we should catch some of them nice mirrors and big old F1s for you today. So before we get fishing and run through the rigs and stuff, I'll talk you through the bait and how I mix it and how I prepare it. Right, so we'll put 13 on Laurels. So first thing I do once I've broke the ice, I always break the ice first just to make sure it gives your peg time to settle, you're not crashing a great big weight in half an hour before the match starts. So once that's done, before I set any kit up, I need to make sure my bait's right. So for these stock fish, the best way of going about it, I've always found, is soft pellet and micros or any sort of pellet bait. It's all they've been bred on, it's what we've seen since they were that big, and we just take it, that's their staple food. Only once we've sort of become established in the lake do we move on to things such as maggots and more natural baits. So it's out and out pellets for me today. So hook wise, I've just got 4mm Pro expanders. So to prepare them, pellet pump, just completely flood it in water, take all that air out. What you don't want to be doing is over pumping the pellet. What we want is just to pump it enough so they sink. So you see that's once, twice, and they're just starting to go. I don't know if you can see, but everyone's just gone down now. And release it. So all of them are now sinking. So all I do, put them in a tub. I want to drain all that water off, because what I find, if I leave them in water, they go too soft and they swell too much. It's something what Nick Speed showed me a few years ago now. So I drain that water off, and I want to replace that with an oil so that it stops the pellets swelling too much. So F1 sweet sticky syrup, and just give it a really generous glug. Just sort of cover it to the level of the pellets. As you can see there, they're ready to go. They'll just want half hour, 40 minutes to take that water on. And then feed wise, dead simple, fishery 2mm. You into a tub. Just cover them in water again. And all I want to do, I prefer quite a hard pellet. So I feel they sink a bit quicker, they make a bit more noise. And especially in these lakes, there's a lot of little roach and skimmers. It's just going to help avoid the attentions of those little fish. So literally, give them a swirl round. See, just make sure everyone sinks and just drain them off. If I was targeting the silverfish, I would just leave them to soften up fully so they become like a mini expander. But I think for those better quality fish, you're better with a slightly harder micro. And then that's it really for bait. There's one little thing. I'm going to do a bit of crush expander ground bait, the Dynamite, milled expander original and milled expander black, just to darken it off. And all that's for in case it's really hard. It's a really fine mix, nice, well, microscopic particles really, a lot smaller than your micro pellet. So if it is really rock bottom, it's just going to help me drag them extra few fish into my peg if it's a bit hard. But I'll cut away and I'll show you how I mix that separately, because it's got to be bang on just to make sure the ground bait works as you want it to. It's not like mixing a normal ground bait. So I'll come back to you when I'm on with that. So onto the ground bait. To be honest, I don't particularly want to feed this today unless I have to, just because the depth of water is probably 4.5, 5 foot deep, and I don't want those fish to come sit off the bottom. So if I can, I'm going to stick to pellets, but if I'm struggling to get fish in my peg, I'll introduce this Eater. So milled expander original and milled expander black. So don't need a load. Probably just a pint or so of bait. I'm only going to be feeding dead little balls of it if I am going to introduce it. Just give it a whisk round. And that black's just to take the edge off it, really. Just darken it off. Then with mixing it, you want to completely flood it in water. So you see, it's almost like a soup. Not sure if you can see that. There you go. Most people would say it's ruined, but because of the high amount of expander pellet within the mix, it comes back brilliantly. The idea is I can feed it as a little stodgy ball. It's going to go down, create a bit of cloud, and hopefully draw a few fish into a peg if it is really hard. You see, you don't need a lot. There's probably only a pint or so of ground bait there, but if I feed, it's literally going to be tiny little marbles like so. So that just wants 15 minutes to stand. Take that water on, and I'll run it through a riddle, and then it's ready to go, and hopefully we'll feed the peg and get a few bites. Right, so he's had time to stand now. Just break it off the bottom of the bowl like that. You see I've got like the cake mix on the riddle. You almost just want to be able to grate it through like so. What that means is it's as wet and as heavy as it can be, so it's going to travel down to the bottom nicely, but you're not going to have it where it floats on the surface. It's going to get those fish in your peg where you want them. That's him all gone through there. You see what we've got, a nice fine mix but a heavy mix, so if it is really hard I can feed a little nugget of that. It's going to go down and hopefully attract a few fish into my peg without overfeeding them. So we'll run through the rigs and we'll get cracking. Right, so rig wise for today, start at the top, elastics and aqua bungee through one of the long Drennan carp kits, 0.4 AS1 float, nice bristle, 1.5mm hollow bristle, just can dot it down lovely and still see it fishing pellets, 015 suplex mainline, little strung bulk there of number 9s, or probably an inch apart, 6-inch hook length of 0.105 suplex fluorocarbon. Just think it hangs nice and straight, lovely when you need that perfect presentation when you pellet fishing. Down to a size 18 911 F1 hook, just perfect for a little 4mm expander. So dead simple rig. We'll get him plumbed up, talk you through how we're going to kick the peg off, and we'll grow from there. Right, so that's took a bit longer than expected. I've upped the carp early on and lost him, and then this is my next fish. I've just swapped from feeding micros to feeding a bit of crushed expander, and definitely getting a few more indications, which is good. Here he is. Nice little stocky mirror, one of the new boys. Look at that lovely little fish. Rolling a 4mm on the hook. Just a tiny little nugget, crush expander. Into your pot. tiny, aren't they? Tiny little bites. Nice mirror. In there for you. Another nice little mirror. I think we'll call that a day just while this rain's coming in. Perfectly top lip again. Tiny little bite. Not sure if you can see him, but lovely fish. 2.5 pounds. Right, so I've decided to call it a day. The weather's took a bit of a turn for the worse. It's just starting to rain, so rather than sit here and get soaked and get packed up. But you've seen how I go about targeting these new stock fish that we've put in here at Lindholme Lakes in the Laurels and the Willows. Dead simple, dead cheap day. A few expanders, some micros, maybe a bit of crushed expander, milled expander, ground bait, in case it's a bit harder, just to kick the peg off. Dead simple rigs, and even in probably some of the worst conditions you can get, as you can probably see behind me, the lakes are frozen, that you can still get plenty of bites and have a nice day's fishing. So I'm going to keep these going now. Obviously we've got plenty of time on our hands throughout this lockdown, so if there's anything you're interested in or you want to get posted up on YouTube or Facebook, drop me a message and I'll try and get it done for you. Cheers.